Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Then in the United States, the Democratic Party is demanding an explanation from the head of the FBI after he announced it was examining a new material as part of its investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. The fresh investigation could well have an impact on Secretary Clinton's chances of success in the looming presidential election, just 1 week and a bit away. Well, I'm joined now by Jeremy Shapiro, Research Director at the European Council on Foreign Relations. Now, he used to work at the State Department, so we'll have some interesting insight there. And very good to see you, Mr. Shapiro. But first of all, let's talk about the timing of this, the so-called, and here it came, an October surprise. But what a surprise it was for everyone, I think.
It was quite a surprise. I think one can be a little bit sympathetic with the FBI here. When something like this happens, they realize that it is a political bombshell, but they're also dealing with the fact that if the FBI director doesn't come out and say something, there's a very good chance it will leak, and then they'll look even more political than they already do. So they're sort of between a rock and a hard place on
so
this.
I'm seeing this right. So, or if they delayed till after the election and then Hillary Clinton got elected and then we realized that they actually had the information before the election, huge questions.
But I think even more likely than that is that the FBI director isn't likely to be able to contain this information. We've seen so many leaks from the FBI investigation that he realizes that if he doesn't come out, it looks worse than if it leaks out and he hasn't said anything.
Do you know what's going on in the FBI then? You talk about leaking there. People think, okay, it's the FBI, they're going to be secure and all speak with one voice. Clearly not, because after the original investigation into Hillary Clinton, a lot came out then about the evidence that she'd given.
I think we should assume that the FBI is like the rest of America and is deeply interested in this election and has deeply divided opinions on it within the organization, and that it's just so important, this election is so important to so many people and so tempting to put information out there when you have it, that I think the government as a whole has despaired of really holding on to information that is important to this election.
I think it's political. I mean, some Democrats think this is a political move.
I don't think that it's political on the part of the FBI director, but I think it exists within such a highly politicized environment that it's impossible to do anything, or for that matter, to do nothing without it appearing political.
Whatever it does, it throws the race wide open again.
Well, I don't think that it throws it wide open. I think it certainly introduces an important wrinkle, but the fact of the matter is we've been having this race for 18 months at least. I'm not sure, it seems like 18 months, maybe it's 10 years, I don't know. But the point is that people have long since decided what they're going to do. They have long since hardened their perspectives on both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It's difficult for me to believe, at least, that this type of new information, which isn't in a certain sense new information at all, will change the way that anybody looks at Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I think it is a little bit more possible that it will affect some of the down-ticket races, some of the races for Senate and for Congress, where people might think, gee, I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, he's clearly insane, but I'm not sure I want to give Hillary Clinton that much control of the government.
Give me it's very interesting, I read an article you wrote, Jeremy, about the State Department from your knowledge of working there. IT systems and government, and let's say politicians and bureaucrats of a certain generation, they all don't mix together very well, and there must be millions of State Department emails going around every day.
Yeah, email is the lifeblood of State Department work. I mean, and it's very fast-paced. You need to get information to the right person at the right moment very, very quickly. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for any individual to figure out what is classified, what can go on which systems, and what needs to happen. And I think that you see in any large trove of State Department officials, emails, you will see some amount of accidentally mislabeled or accidentally distributed classified information. In my personal view, there is quite a lot of over-classification in the government.
Well, I would guess, especially if you're sending something to the Secretary of State, you're going to say, right, well, that's going to be classified because it's going up to, the big person.
Exactly. As one assistant secretary said, it's hard for someone of his level to burp without somebody classifying it. So, you come out of a meeting and you want to report the results of that meeting to your boss or to the Secretary of State. Was that meeting classified? Was what was said in that meeting classified? Was the particular message that you're giving about that meeting classified? These are actually difficult judgments, and people might legitimately differ on them, especially in retrospect. And so it becomes very, very difficult to figure out what is the appropriate email etiquette. When you layer on top of that, I think someone like Hillary Clinton, who isn't terribly comfortable with the technology and doesn't quite understand what the ramifications of sending a given email are from a technological perspective, I think it becomes yet harder.
But do you think ultimately, I mean, that's explaining it, but a lot of the American people aren't listening to it that way. They think it is crooked Hillary and that she should go to jail. You could have a commander-in-chief elected who's then facing a criminal investigation.
Well, I think either way we could have that, because Donald Trump is under any number of possible criminal investigations. So I don't think that's really up for grabs in this election. What I can say about the email investigation in particular is that there is no crime there. Maybe there is some negligence, but there isn't anything that is remotely indictable. I think we've already seen that in this past July. But what we know is that it is in the political interest of the Republicans and of Hillary Clinton's opponents to keep this scandal going, and they are excellent at that. They've been keeping the Vince Foster scandal going since 1993.
Vaguely remember that one. Yes, Mr. Shapiro, very good to get your thoughts. We're out of time. Thank you very much indeed.
Barely more than a week now till polling day in America on November the 8th, and a new revelation has rocked the US presidential election campaign. And if it wasn't bizarre enough, it just got more bizarre. The FBI have reopened, or at least renewed, their investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server or servers while she was Secretary of State, after the discovery of further emails, though not on her laptop or even the State Department. But Donald Trump is saying it's now bigger than Watergate. It's a point of view. So could it swing the election in his favor? We spoke to a top US pollster, Frank Luntz.
The FBI investigation is happening so late in the election process that it would be very difficult to derail a Clinton victory. That said, if there is one thing that could keep Hillary Clinton from the presidency, it's an FBI investigation. But there's still only 4 states that really matter: Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. And right now, Clinton has, beyond the margin of error, leads in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. So this would have to have a truly significant impact for the election to go from Clinton to Trump. There was a point about a week ago when I was prepared to say that Clinton had a 95% chance of winning this election. Based on what has happened in the last 48 hours, I would drop it to 80%. It's still very likely, but I wouldn't bet on it. I thought the 2000 election would be the best election of my lifetime because it never ended, it just went on. And then I thought 2008 would be amazing because we had 2 challenger candidates and the first African-American president. None of them compare to 2016. It is ugly, it is painful, it is as negative as anything that I've ever experienced. The public is angry, the country overall is frustrated, they want this over. But for entertainment value, these candidates probably should have charged us money, because it's better than any movie I've ever seen, it's better than any TV show. Just thank God it's almost over.
That was Frank Luntz. Well, Isabel, he may be right or wrong about the Mrs. Clinton still having an 80% chance of winning, but I would bet on an 80% chance.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I spoke to one other very high-profile pollster, American pollster and strategist last night, and he took a rather different view to Frank Luntz there. He thought, and I think some other high-profile commentators agree, that this was actually much more serious than perhaps some people realise. I mean, there are an awful lot of undecided voters out there who are looking for an excuse to vote Trump. They don't like what they see in either candidate, but the question mark this now raises over Hillary Clinton, because this FBI probe is not going to conclude before the election, the question, the doubt over Hillary Clinton gives them an excuse to back Trump. And the thing that will play on voters' minds is, Could the 100-day honeymoon actually turn into the 100-day divorce? Could she even be impeached?
Well, what it may well do is give some people an excuse not to go to vote for Mrs. Clinton because they're reluctant to do it. It could provide a problem with her energising her base. And Frank Luntz is right, of course, about the battleground always matters more than the national polls. And he's right that, Florida and Pennsylvania have been trending to Mrs. Clinton, and Mr. Trump needs to win both. He doesn't get in without both. He needs both. She doesn't. He does. But just coming up in the news here, the latest ABC News Washington Post tracking poll, Mrs. Clinton is now only 1 point ahead in the national poll. 1 point. Even given my caveat that the state battles are more important, that's incredibly close.
It is, and there were polls yesterday that showed Trump nationally closing up within a couple of points.
Well, now
and they were taken before
this was
these
taken
revelations.
Afterwards. This was taken after Friday night.
So there's a clear trend and movement. And what this has done is reinforce everything that people who have a problem with Hillary Clinton know about Hillary Clinton. Trump is running this insurgent campaign. We've seen it work here with Brexit. And if you're running an insurgent campaign, you want to be up against the ultimate establishment insider, and that's what Hillary Clinton is.
But I said bizarre, and I would suggest that's not too strong a word. And indeed, fathoming the behaviour of the FBI is quite difficult as well. This is a separate investigation into the former Congressman Weiner, who had done all sorts of things, but one thing was he seemed to be sex texting, or whatever it's called, a minor, a 15-year-old girl. The FBI, because it's across state lines, it becomes a federal offence. The FBI investigate, they get his laptop to see what else he's been up to. In the course of that, his wife, now separated wife, is probably the closest advisor to Hillary Clinton. They find on the laptop emails involving the Clinton server to her, to the former Mrs. Weiner. And yet the FBI, the FBI cannot, it needs now a separate warrant to access these emails, and it hasn't got that yet. It's got a warrant to do the Weiner emails, but it hasn't got a warrant, and yet on the basis of not knowing the content, this has happened.
Yeah, and who knows? He's a Republican, isn't he, this guy?
He is a registered Republican, though earlier this year was being praised to the hilt by Democrats.
Absolutely, and Obama appointed him and all the rest of it. All I can say is the timing is a nightmare for her, and as you say, you've described the whole sequence. There is nothing definitive to damn her in this sequence. Well, all he's saying is he's discovered more emails, in effect, and as you say, they are from Weiner's ex-wife who worked for Hillary Clinton, or still does work for Hillary Clinton.
On Mr. Weiner's laptop, or Mr. Weiner's laptop, which apparently she used sometimes.
Yeah, but what that shows is that for all the scrutiny of modern politicians, they cannot escape caricature. And as Tim was just saying, her weakness is perceived to be secretive elitism and complacency about that elitism. And so just the announcement of a reopening of the investigation so fuels that caricature.
Indeed.
You've just revealed a poll giving her just a 1%
1 point lead on the
that
ABC
must be
Washington
related to
Post.
what's
And
happened.
it was, as I said, it was taken after Friday.
It's without a shred of evidence that she's done anything wrong. But you can see how, because people see only things in caricature, that is deadly serious for her.
An American friend of mine, Isabel, said, so we got our October surprise, but we just don't, for the reasons we don't really know what this surprise is.
Or if there is a surprise.
Even if there is one. The FBI must surely come under massive pressure, since it did this against the wishes of the Justice Department, to expand.
I suppose that the rationale for the FBI and the difficulty that they had was that this information, for what it's worth, it came to them. Were they not to have said something and it were to come out later, they would be accused of a massive cover-up. So in a way, they're sort of damned if they do and damned if they don't. And you know what? There's still time for another surprise, a early November surprise. Who knows whether there might still be something that comes out on Donald Trump and this thing goes full circle again.
Quite right. This is the first election that I can remember. We've had 2 October surprises already, and there's plenty of time for a third. I mean, there are a lot of talk about tapes that are still knocking around on Donald Trump saying racist things and all sorts of other stuff. And, you know, the Clintons are a pretty organised outfit and they've got a lot of friends. It would be a great surprise if we didn't see something else in the next 8 days.
Just when you think it couldn't get more amazing, it does. Stay tuned.
I've been getting away